So, here we are. Something that I been meaning to talk about for a while because it was really high on the agenda for a long time and it disappeared. The Great Reset. Where did it go? Has it gone anywhere? Are we now completely living in it? I mean, Prince Charles signed up for it. Obviously, Mr. Schwab was bang up for it. And was he a big Bond villain, or why are we not hearing about it anymore? Was it just a bunch of ideas? Given the evidence that we see around us now, it's pretty obvious to most people that it's definitely going on. However, let's examine what it isn't, and then maybe we can find out what it is. Who's being reset? What's being reset? Is anything being reset? Well, what's not being reset is communism. Communism always fails. So why do they promote it in schools? Well, the hint in that is that it results in a zombie population. What's not being reset? Slavery. That would seem like a good thing to reset, but it still exists now. And believe it or not, there's more slaves now than have ever been in any time in the modern world. Not going back to Roman times, of course. But the hint there is, well, who's doing the enslaving? The fact that Britain fought to end slavery in the world, and it cost every man in Britain every man and woman who's in Britain now, it cost us all. We've only really just stopped paying for it recently. That should be lauded, but it's vilified. And if you want a hint for that one, just examine the last point I said. The fact that religions are cults that result in absolute radicalization is seen as the norm. How? How can you see anything that is going on in our streets is okay? You can't even leave the one I'm really talking about because that results in death. But that's not even questioned in Parliament. Good God. It's never found in any other religion or cult. You can leave just about anything you want and you're fine. You can't leave the one I'm talking about. And really, there's that question in itself is quite deep. But we're talking about what's not going to get reset. The fact that incorrect, deliberate rewriting of history is evident in books, the media, TV, films, documentaries. I mean, good grief, it's everywhere. Usually, and all of these things go completely unchallenged. Why? And it's worse than this. Anyone who challenges it, well, you are cancelled, or vilified, or even jailed. Now, this sounds daft, but really you are. And if you want a hint for that one, today's reporters of modern society are our future recorders of history. And think about what they're now recording. It's just ridiculous. The fact that we persevere with a failing parliamentary system that's proven itself to be unfit for the modern world. I mean, come on, good grief, it's unfit for anything. But is that not why it's deliberately allowed to go on? I think it probably is. Do you remember that guy, Yuri Bezmenov? And then he had these 4 stages of illogical subversion, demoralization, where literally anything that you do means nothing, destabilization, and then the crisis phase. Normalization is where you just accept it becomes the norm, and you think, how could we get to that? Well, we have, and the hint in that is that the current playbook is being used. It's turning America from a friendly ally into an imperialistic power, attempting to overthrow what was the USSR. This is what he said at the time. And in itself turned to state capitalism, where the individual is nothing. he exists as a slave in human conditions, if I'm right. And this is a process that is loved by the current left. And you think, how can they get to this stage? Well, okay, what else is not being reset? Well, do you know there's enough money in the world to end poverty? I've said this on other videos as well. I'm just kind of pulling a couple of things together here. This would lead to equality of opportunity, but not equality of outcome, because you can never do that. And again, I've said on another video, there was a guy, his name escapes me, and he said, put 20 people in a lift, give them each £1. By the time that lift gets to the top, I will own £20. This is, it doesn't matter what you do with the money, but who would you give the money to start with? Where would that money come from? And how would you monitor the handing of it out? I mean, everything's just totally corrupt. And what amount would make it equal? You'd have to work out all the money in the world and then divide it somehow. But there is enough money in the world to literally just, I mean, you don't even need that much to end poverty. But it doesn't seem to be ending. And the people who have all the money clearly don't want it to end. And how do you take that money from those people to start with? I mean, it's quite a big thing to take money from people. And then what about the people who are making money now? Are you going to let them generate it still? Well, of course you are, because people need jobs. And then what are you going to do then when people say, well, I'm not going to try anymore, because if I make money, you're going to take it off me? This is communism. It's why everybody gets to the lowest level. And the desired outcome is, of course, zombie people, and that's what you're going to end up with. Now, who do you give it to? Do you give it to a family? Do you give it to a person? Do you give it to a country and let them divide it up? It's almost an impossible task. But the fact that this would make money utterly worthless seems to be ignored by the left. If everyone's got it, then it doesn't mean anything. You have to have something that I don't have for that to actually have some worth, if that makes sense. Like, say, for example, I can do a skill that you can't do. Then, I mean, I used to be an electrician, so I could come wire your house up. And if you can't do that, you could pay me to do that. So what am I going to say? Oh, well, I'm going to give that money back to you, or we're going to share it? What? It doesn't make sense. I'm doing something that someone else can't or won't or doesn't have the time to do. You just can't divide the money up. It doesn't work. The world would effectively be run still by the elites. And it needs the money from the elites. And this is why we know it will never happen. There are certain things you could do. Now then, so let's say what is being reset now. Well, probably, yeah, just about everything I'm probably going to say at this moment. Is it the reset, for example, the biggest one that is really cheesing me off at the moment, the reset of law? And it's already been used. It's been used against our own, let's just say, the white citizens, but not against non-white citizens to the same degree. People are calling this two-tier Starmer and stuff like that. But it's been going on for a while, and you can't really just blame it on that clown. You can blame it on the previous clowns as well. Against people peacefully protesting. As long as they're not white. Yeah, I mean, how can you call for the genocide of people and think that's fine? But they do, and nothing happens. How about against people asking legitimate questions and receiving no answers? What are you going to do? If you've never been in that position, believe me, you don't want to be in that position. I have been there. I have asked questions of MPs, of the police, of everyone. You wonder why I'm so adamant? I've been there. I didn't just buy the t-shirt. I just designed the bloody thing. I've spent a lot of time doing this and getting no answers. And when you get no answers, you get frustrated. When you get frustrated, you lash out. This is the nature of the human condition. So it's very easy to stop it. But if you wanted to stop discussion, by branding it a hate crime and never defending what a hate crime is, you can make anything you want. You can do anything you like and make it a hate crime. That is obscene. If you can't see that, if you're on the left and you can't see that, I can't help you. I keep saying this. Just people thinking. Now, okay, I know what you're thinking. You think, no, you're talking about that lady that was praying outside of the abortion clinic. She was quite a distance away from it, and she was praying to herself. She didn't say anything. Her biggest crime was probably admitting that she was praying for the life of unborn children. How can people not have empathy with that? And believe me, everyone has empathy with raped kids and things like that. That, from my own perspective, and God's not going to thank me for this one, but I think, yes, you probably should have bought that child. And I know abolitionists rising would say, no, we can adopt. I can't get on board with that at this moment in time. And I think we need to find common ground with left and right, whatever. And this is possibly an area where common ground exists. However, you can't say that a fetus is not a baby, because it is. You can't say it's not a child, because it is. You can't say it's not alive, because it is. But you have to consciously decide to kill that child. That's the question, not the questions that are being asked. But if you say you're going to kill a child, most people would say, no, you can't do that. Once you dehumanize that child, you can do anything you like. The weaponization of both the law and law enforcement, in other words, the police, who seem to have lost the plot, but they've also lost the respect of the public, and they've lost it in droves. Is it the reset of, say, employment laws? Employing people of, say, a colour over white people for no reason other than the colour of their skin is probably not a good idea. This is not a qualification that will result in safety and quality of people's jobs. And it discriminates against white people, and it discriminates against skilled people, because just employing them on anything other than their skill is ridiculous, when the whole point of having a skill is to be employed. But if you're going to remove all that, and if you're going to really absolutely get down to, say, communism, for all you lefties, believe me, you're not get to choose what job you do. You'll be bunged into that factory. You'll be made to do whatever the hell it is that you're going to do. And you won't even get your money for it, because everyone will just be paid the same. Talking about money, is it the reset of money? Well, we're kind of saying that now. The government has a responsibility to act with financial acuity, with skill, and to make your money go, your taxes go as far as it can possibly go, to give you roads and systems that work. They don't have to supply you anything, but we're in a civilized society, so they do, because that's what's happened. Yet they're squandering money, and they're giving it to complete strangers coming into the country and giving it to foreign leaders. Excuse me, with seemingly no financial accounting. I mean, where's this money going and what's it being used on? Because we seem to be giving people weapons and ammunition, so they're not buying it. So where's all that money going? It's a big, huge money laundering scheme. The government clearly wants to use digital currency, yet it has a complete track record of failure. I mean, it fails at everything that it ever does. How can it effectively monitor and regulate financial institutions, for example? Have you seen what they did with that? I mean, good grief. They didn't monitor anything. They just made a whole ton of money the last time, and then said, oh, we need to do this. No, they're not going to do it, and they never will. So are we heading for I don't know, you keep using this word, a communist-style credit system? Well, who decides who the winners and the losers are in that system? I'll give you a hint there. We all lose. That's the bottom line for that one. Can't really say anything about that. Reset of possessions. Well, this happened in every nation that turned to communism. They took everything from them. It's a very popular idea with young people who presently own very little, but they want a lot without putting in the effort to get it. Hint, you will own nothing, and you will never own anything. And that's our Mr. Schwab, isn't it? You will own nothing and be happy? I doubt it. Is it a reset of the education system? Well, it's already broken. And it's already been rewritten. It's teaching fake history about the British. It's teaching fake history about slavery, including the Barbary Coast slave trade. And who did this to the British again? I'm not giving you the answers because you need to go and research it yourself. If I give you the answers, you'll just say, and then if I say go look, you'll still go. And if you really want to genuinely find the answer, you'll find it. If you don't, you'll just say, oh, well, I looked and I couldn't find it, in which case you're never going to find it anyway. Just don't become a researcher. The British stopping slavery worldwide, even though it is continuing today, at least we outlawed it, by the same people who enslaved the British, funnily enough. And are we seeking compensation and repatriations? No, of course we're not. But it is actually still going on today. But teaching fake biology and damaging children, you know what I'm on about. Promoting and teaching the sick PDF files, I have to call it, agenda in schools, colleges and the media. It is absolutely everywhere. P. Diddy. Let's just see what happens there. Is it the reset of language? Well, let's examine that and let's change some of the language. Child trafficking, for example, is the nice way the left describes raping children on an industrial scale. Grooming gangs is the nice way the left describes raping children on an industrial scale. I'll throw a couple more. Gaslighting. It's a nice term that the left uses to describe the insidious technique. I'm quoting here. The insidious technique of deception and psychological manipulation. Insidious deception. Psychological manipulation of a person or a group. Yeah, I think I got that right. Gender dysfunction. That was one of my favourites, and I'm sure if anyone's going to chime in, they're going to do this because they'll totally disagree. Well, it's just my opinion. The abuse of gender confused people by other people. Is that controversial? Well, I think they are being abused. It's achieved through labelling them. It excludes them from society where they become easy prey. It empowers abusers to manipulate people and abuse them further. And it's achieved by taking them from the protection of the herd, which is all of us, and giving them a new identity, a new badge to wear, to show their new allegiances and their new alliance to an imaginary community. I mean, it's not a community where they live on some little island somewhere. Rainbow Island. I mean, no. Where they feel wanted. Their newly identified self will be evident, and as such, they will repeat this process to others, continuing that abuse. They enjoy the protection from the state for reasons best known to the state, because I know why they're doing it. It's back to the PDF file thing. They're just getting thrown into the mix, and I've already said it, you're being used. Is it the reset? Is it the reset of the media? Well, there's been little, if any, intervention at the BBC, which used to be the flagship of the world. I mean, the news production values, I've I've espoused myself when I went to the BBC in 1980, 81. I just loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I think it was a completely different beast back then, and I think they really did have production values, and I think the news had some degree of integrity. Now we're the laughing stock of the world. I mean, you think CNN's bad, BBC's just as bad. I have a book behind me. Were you lied to? Did you hear that on the BBC? I think that's what it's called. Excellent book. And it lists, again, go and find it yourself. I'm not going to tell you what it says. And then the others all followed the BBC's lead. If the BBC can get away with it, well, we'll all do it. Now, whose agenda is that promoting? And why? Well, look at who owns it. Look at who owns everything. You think it's funded by the population of Britain? Well, all right, it's funded. Do you think there's no influence going on from people in the rest of the world? And I say people, and of course we know it's WF. Social media, anti-social media, well, that's what we're on now. I would call it anti-social media. I think that's a more accurate description. But it instigates censorship of free speech. It's happened to me, it's happened to people who've commented. To the point that they say, I'm removing it, I never remove comments. It ignores left-wing propaganda, and it promotes its left-wing agenda. And it labels everyone else. It labels all degeneracy and morally bankrupt ideas as progressive. I hate that term. And there's no responsibility, either legally or otherwise. And how have we got to this stage? It just seems ludicrous. It also labels anyone who refuses to follow their degenerate path to hell. It does a degenerate path to hell as the enemy. And then onwards to openly hate speech and attacks whilst enjoying the protection of the police, which seems ludicrous. Social media ignores the damage it does to young minds, those easily influenced, which of course is young, to the social cohesion that used to exist in society. The same society that is being destroyed by government mismanagement on a monumental scale. I've said this in other videos. I'm just really pulling it together here. Virtually unaccountable. Yeah, I would. That's social media. Completely unashamed. And as yet, seemingly untouchable. Untouched by any degree of effective regulation. It's almost as if its discretions are purposely being undertaken to destroy people's minds. Yes, well, what else can we reset? So, reset of the family. Just had a quick look there. I'm looking at my picture. I need to stop laughing. Looking at myself there. The destruction of the family in schools and the media, along the lines drawn up by various nut jobs and failures. Got to throw Karl Marx in here, whose own life was a textbook case of failing at everything, except for the production of a system so bad that only teenagers believe it. And they either grow up or facts drop into their lap, whichever comes first. Thomas Sowell, I believe, said something similar to that. Marx was already championed by the fringe, almost terrorist group, BLM. They proudly exclaimed on their website, I can't remember the exact quote, and in person, Ralph has talked several times with that disgrace of a woman. But they're fully trained Marxists. Fully trained imbeciles doesn't sound as good. But that's probably an equally valid description of their destructive role within their sphere of influence. The destruction of the family unit and their desire for children to be brought up in a group and not by their biological parents. It was another openly stated goal. I mean, they actually put this in print. It was beyond belief. Opening to groups' aims and objectives, and I mean, it's a PDF file's dream come true, if you ask me. Again, you will own nothing, not even your kids. I mean, it's in your face, isn't it? Is it the ultimately? Or talking about reset. Ultimately, is it the reset of people? Just people? Are we? I mean, this is massive. The reset of people. It can occur through many channels, including everything I've listed so far. But imagine having, say, no family, no money, no identity, no employment, no house, no parents, no legal system, no country, no hope, no dreams, no food, no happiness. Although owning nothing and be happy, I can't say that. No possessions, owning nothing and be happy. No. Ultimately, it's destroyed everything. There's no humanity, no religion. Very important to some people. Getting a bit too grim. Hang on a minute, let's say something else. Oh, well, no war. 1984. The fear of war was always there. There was no war, but there was the fear that war was there. So you've replaced no war with fear. No fear. Except the fear of everyone and everything that's around you. Yeah, no theft. Unless, of course, there's nothing to steal because you don't own anything, so there's not going to be any theft. There's nothing to steal because the rain do the crap. That's Elton John. I might get wrong for that, but that's, I mean, no rape. That'll be a good one. Unless, of course, it's state sanctioned. Think it doesn't happen? Think again. However, a great future no doubt exists for everyone. Everyone who's in charge. Sign up today. What have you got to lose? It's sounding a bit, hang on, wait a minute, sounding a bit Fallout, isn't it? It's like one of the things you get from that. Another way to get people to guarantee to sign up to the Great Reset is you could call it something else. The Great Awakening. The Great Free Giveaway, if you get something. The Great Big Society. That was Cameron's big thing, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm sure it was. The Great Community. The Great Escape. That film's already been used. The Great Big Fantastic Happy Joy Time. So we're going all a bit North Korea here. I mean, who wouldn't want that one, really? Just before being blasted to pieces by anti-aircraft guns, probably. Resetting people can, and no doubt will be, achieved by the complete collapse of, well, everything really. Society. It's already started using mass immigration, fake wars, climate manipulation, finance. Well, that's coming soon, isn't it? Uncontrolled inflation. That'll just take everything that you have. And I'm pretty sure that's coming. Infrastructure. I've already stated. DEI. Really? Hiring less experienced people to do jobs that you really need experienced people for? I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Planes falling from the sky, perhaps. Nope, there's another one. The door's fallen off. Collapsing bridges, very popular in China, I believe. Potholes, they're everywhere. They're just refusing to fix themselves. It's almost like we need skilled people to put it right. Well, NHS. Well, private seems to be doing all right. So if you can afford it, you're doing all right. How about agriculture? Climate manipulation? Well, that's going to affect it, and it clearly is. Food production. More climate manipulation. Fake food production. Print me up a piece of meat. Thank you very much. Yes, no need to put it on that little cutting device. Just print me one off there. Are you really going to eat that? You deserve everything you get if you're going to. Food distribution. I mean, you saw what happened in Canada with the farmers. I mean, Trudeau, he's WF, you know he is. And good grief, I mean, they were talking about batteries on lorries, weren't they? Your food will be rotten by the time it gets to you. I mean, it's not going to happen. You'd say, next they'll be taxing the air. Well done. Welcome to Britain. Welcome to London. The air is taxed, and it's worse than it's ever been. So that's pretty stupid, really. Education? Well, kids have already fallen for that left view of how terrible it was to have everything we ever wanted. Oh, you boomers, you had everything. Well, yes. Oh, and that's white privilege. Oh, my God. When's it ever end? Even black people, if they have white privilege, if they're not on the left. I mean, BLM, Black Lives Matter, unless they are on the right. Yeah, it's not very catchy, but hey ho. This is active ideological subversion of our children. How about we give you fake guilt? Yeah, fake guilt. That's really what they're doing. They're saying that our history is fake. They're saying our history is bad. Now, I'm all for questioning it. I wouldn't accept anything on face value. I don't. But to say that Britain hasn't had a fantastic effect on the world is just terrible. Instilling pride into black kids through fake history? No. Because when you find out it's wrong, I mean, what did your peers do during the slave trade? I keep mentioning this. Fabricating new historical black history stories is just wrong. Be proud of the stories that you do have. You know, I mean, we all know they landed on the moon just after discovering the cure to cancer. Oh, no, they didn't. I don't think we did either. The introduction of segregated communities and sustainability of divided societies through propaganda. I keep saying this, and it is all propaganda. The reset of people through medical interventions. Yeah, well, that's an obvious one. As in, well, I mean, identity dysphoria, going back to the thing that's going to make me very unpopular in dysmorphia. Get it cut off, move it around, have a bit added on. You can never have enough of that, really, can you? You can never be perfect enough. Terrible. Have yourself a merry little brain implant. I mean, thank you, Elon. I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, but I think he's wrong in that one. It'll be brought in under the guise of helping some disabled chap being able to, I've got an arm back again and I'm using my brain. That's how it'll be brought in. You know it is. This will be the ultimate in social engineering. And it will be linked to your credit score, and your existence can be ended with a flick of a switch. And it will be. How about a mandatory vaccine? I'm trying to talk about it, but I've had to have them. 1, 2, 3. I mean, you know, vaccine today and implant tomorrow. And I can guarantee under your social credit score, you'll not get anything without it. I know this throws up a lot of questions, and I realise I'm looking now, it's 34 minutes long. I don't think anyone's going to get to the end of this. So thank you for listening, and I'll probably put the questions up on a different one. See you later.